Hey guys, Julia here. Welcome back to another video. And for real though, we are setting up August today, which is absolutely bananas, but here we are. Glad to be back after a busy month and a little YouTube break. I missed you guys, honestly. But we're gonna get right into it. And before we hop into the journal, we're actually gonna hop into Procreate first on my iPad to get a little something special going for the cover page. So let's get to it. So the theme this month is creamsicles, and I'll tell you why a little later, but here in Procreate, I'm just sketching out a creamsicle pop and sort of getting together a color palette for the whole theme to be based on. I'm using solid colors to fill everything in, and then I'm going back on top of that with like a grainy brush to give it a bit of subtle texture. But once I have that all drawn up, I'm gonna take that PNG over to Adobe Illustrator on my computer to make a pattern. And here I'm just hopping in the object menu, then to pattern and selecting make. I got a preview of the pattern going on, and there's a few different grid options here, but for this one, the brick by column option is tickling my fancy, so I'm just gonna go with that. I'm also going to make the graphic a little smaller and adjust the spacing just a touch to get it how I like it before saving the swatch. Finally, I'm just gonna make a rectangle to fill the whole page with that new pattern and get it ready to print and cut with my trusty little paper cutter. Hopping right in, I'm drawing a pretty massive A on the left page, and this lettering is based on a font called Cherry Squash. It's probably not gonna be my go-to font in my everyday design work, but I thought it was perfect for this sort of creamsicle shop theme. For the type nerds out there, this font style is called a decorative slab serif. Pretty similar to serif fonts you might see like Times New Roman. However, the serifs on these are flat, kind of like slabs of concrete that the letter just sort of sits on. And of course, we have that little decorative flare on the left side of the A. I'm filling this in with the Archer & Olive acrylograph, and I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty tough to find colors to fit the theme this time around. Like, orange is the obvious option, you would think, but it was just a little much, like a little too primary, I guess. But this color is Sweet Melon from the Cool Fall collection. I'll link that and all the supplies I can in the description per usual. And then for the actual word August, I'm keeping it pretty low key, but the lettering is nice, approachable, and round. And I didn't want to go too crazy, so the big A would be kind of like the start of the show over there. I also wanted to give the A a nice little outline in the same orange and just tighten up that outline there. For some reason, it ended up looking darker and somehow metallic. Cool, I'll take it, but totally not intentional. And then in usual Julia fashion, you guys know I gotta throw in some white highlights to make it pop. Okay, now our little pattern comes into play here. I'm making my life easier just by gluing this in and rounding the corner so that it fits in a little better with the page. I thought it would be fun to also include some craft paper scraps here for the corners. Honestly, there's not a solid reason why I decided to do this. I just thought it would break up some of the orange and give the spread and really the whole theme a nice little accent along with mostly neutral washi tape. And after I got that pasted in there and the washi tape in there, that's gonna do it for our creamsicle cover page. So moving on to the monthly spread, believe it or not, it's not a basic grid this month. It's been a good long while, but I'm doing separate boxes for each day of the month. mostly because I have the space to. I'm kind of flexing on the B5 size, and it's always nice to kind of change it up from time to time. But while I'm getting all the calendar boxes in, I'll tell you guys about why the theme. Well, last August, I did an underwear theme for National Underwear Day. I'll leave that one up top if you want to check it out. But apparently there's also a National Creamsicle Day on August 14th. And these odd national holidays are always just fun. I love them. Plus, I still do, but I remember loving creamsicle pops growing up. Like, favorite summer treat hands down. So as the summer starts to like melt down to an end here, I thought it would be like a cool little last hurrah for the summer-centric themes. And once I have that calendar knocked out, I'm gonna go ahead and throw in more craft paper down on the bottom. And I'm sort of folding my journal to get good placement along the spine, so it's not like a pain to flip pages here. And I'm actually going to go ahead and make a Dutch door for the monthly spread, so cutting it all the way up about 7 spaces in. So then on the next page, I'm just finishing off the monthly spread design, but this little area will be visible on the next spread as well. I'm throwing in another smaller decorative A up here with a tombow, but then going back over it kind of halfway with that same sweet melon acrylograph. So it has this sort of like ombre summer flavor. And under that, I'm adding in some social media growth trackers for both YouTube and Instagram. And then down on the very bottom, I'm doodling another creamsicle pop, much like the one in the pattern, but a bite is not taken out of this one. And I did end up using a more true orange for the outline for this, rather than black. I just thought that it stood out a bit more as an outline and it wasn't too overpowering visually. I feel like whenever you use black with some of these softer colors, it kind of takes up a lot of visual weight and a lot of visual space, which is totally fine, but that's just not the look that I was going for this time around. Just getting in some finishing touches here with the washi and dots, because dots are always just like this perfect little accent for any and every theme. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward. I like to keep these calendar spreads more functional just because it's definitely a necessary reference spread that I come back to pretty often throughout the month. On the other side of that Dutch door will be the night log. Switched up the order a little bit, but for the header, I'm just doing some drippy creamsicle along the top of the page here. And not gonna lie, for whatever reason, the 3mm acrylograph was just not having it. So it was a little bit of a chore to fill all of this stuff in. But once I did get it in, I'm dividing the page in my typical 2 columns, and the left side is to track dinners every night, and then on the right side is where I'm writing in what we watch with dinner every night. Since usually we're couch eaters, we're big TV and movie fans, although my memory of said things is terrible. But yeah, I like to keep track of any favorites down here and also how many times we order out, just to make sure we don't get too out of control there. But I'm finishing this little flap off with the section headers and the main header sort of peeking out behind the drip there. I'm using the Pentel brush pen for that. And then moving on to the habit trackers and focus check-in sections. Since there's a lot of different sections in this spread as a whole, I didn't want to go too elaborate with all of the headers, so in contrast with that night log side, these are pretty basic. I'm splitting up my yearly focus areas just with these little round pill shapes, and beside each one, sort of in a bulleted list form, I'll write in any significant progress or struggles with these areas, and I'm honestly not too hard on myself with this section. Any sort of anything here is progress. But as you guys may know, I've been using the hell out of my little mini calendar stickers for the habit trackers, but wanted to change it up this month and go back to actually drawing them in. I got this grid stencil in the June Archer and Olive subscription box and wanted to put it to the test, and I really enjoyed using it for this. You basically line up the stencil to the first row or column of dots, and then all of the other rows or columns are already lined up, so you don't have to keep like sliding the ruler and realigning everything, which is nice. You just line it up once and you go for it, and I definitely think it sped up making these little mini calendars. And another thing I'm trying with these is just putting the dates for the Sundays along the side, just because I've done these before with no numbers, just a blank grid, and honestly it was more effort than necessary to figure out what block was which day, so this is going to work out a lot better. And then of course adding in some accents to tie everything together, some craft paper, washi, and dots, and the sort of monthly tracker dashboard situation is complete. Okay, the next spread is a space for notes, and I'm just going to add a few ice cream cart doodles on here to dress it up. However, this little cart here is going to actually be functional as well. It's going to be a spot to keep up with clients that I invoice monthly. If you're new around these parts, I'm a full-time graphic designer and business owner, and my partner and I specialize in logo and visual identity. But yeah, a few of our ongoing clients are invoiced monthly, so basically here I'll just keep up with which clients have open projects to be invoiced at the end of the month. And that same little grid ruler has task boxes that are nice and neat, so I'm just gonna go ahead and use those all the way down here. I also made quite a few of these creamsicle stickers to speed up the process here and just bring the pattern from the cover page into the theme a bit more without having to redraw it over and over. Down in the corner, I'm doodling another little cart just for funsies with a little exaggerated flag up top. Of course, keeping all the shapes really basic and just finishing off this one with a border, some craft paper in the corners, and a few more sticker accents and washi tape to keep the page visually interesting. For the last spread, I'm bringing back the pattern printable that I cut into 2 strips, and I'm just going to lay these on either side of the spread. And of course, I'm using my paper rounder to make sure it fits right in with the page. Honestly, I'm so inconsistent with what I use to paste things in. Sometimes I reach for my glue stick, other times this glue tape. It's basically whatever I feel like dealing with at any specific time. But I'm going with the rolling weekly per usual, which I'm definitely sticking with as my base weekly layout now. I'm just drawing in a big T in that cherry swash inspired lettering to represent rolling tasks that will be listed down on that page. And then on the left side, I'm using just a basic grid that I'll use to highlight meetings, classes, I take dance, and priority tasks that have to be done on specific days. And let's see, I'm using the Cricut fine liners for this grid. The color is called Adobe Clay if you happen to have the set. But down below, I'm adding in a separate task list for bullet journal related content. So Patreon things, YouTube things, Instagram related tasks. I'm learning it's a whole thing to share your bullet journal online. Don't get me wrong, I love it, but it definitely deserves its own little section here, complete with a little banner header that in a subtle way relates back to that flag on the cart from the last spread. So as expected, I'm bringing in some of those accent elements I've used throughout, the craft paper, stickers, washi, and the dots to tie everything together with this and call it good. addition to the free pattern printable you'll find down in the description, I've also got these Creamsicle stickers in a couple of different sizes available in my Etsy shop that I'll link down below as well if you're interested in recreating this theme or if you just have a good love for creamsicles. Because of this crazy July I've had, Patreon was on a little hiatus, but there's also that if you're wanting some goodies to recreate any of my themes. But let's take a look at all of the spreads for August. I hope you guys enjoyed. Definitely consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Throw me a like as well. I'm hoping to finish something a little bit different for the next video or two, so keep an eye out for that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. And if you like this video, here are a couple more I think you would enjoy.